with Jeffrey Smith, brought to you by the Geary Community Schools Corporation.
All right, everybody, guess what? We're back. It is it is the top of the hour right now, about a minute before Wild West Days on a beautiful Thursday, the 16th of May, 2024, and this is Wake Up GI with Jeffrey Smith. Once again, I want to thank Diamond and Sarah and Miss Robin Sizemore from the Geary Community School Corporation. We appreciated that conversation earlier this morning, talking about mental health. Well, we're going to continue that conversation. We're going to talk with our good friend, Dr. Jan Seabrook. She's in studio, and of course, we always appreciate when she drops by once a month to kind of give us an inside look into what's going on as far as health, and also let us know what's going on with Community Health Net, which is just a wonderful organization that she is the executive director of. And really, I just get to pick her brain, so it's always a pleasure to do that. With that being said, good morning, Doc. What's up?
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Yeah, we were talking. I mean, it's a lot going on right now. There's always some kind of awareness month out there, and I like it because it means that we're talking about different health issues and things like that. Now, before we start, I want to tell you, you be proud of me, and I'm bragging about this all the time because, matter of fact, I was up in the office feeling it. I have gotten into gardening. All right, my wife, we got an expansive garden. It really looks great. We got the mulch in it. We put a bench down yesterday. My wife has been growing for a while, little things and pots and things like that. But I decided to make amends with whatever was going on between me and the plant family, because they just did not get along with me. And I took botany and I did all that good stuff. I thought I was really learning their language, but unfortunately it didn't work out. Well, I decided to kind of change my attitude because really the problem I think was me, and go out here and kind of get into it. So we have really jump in both feet first, and I've got we've got an array of seedlings, and I'm kind of the nursery guy. My wife and she's been putting the stuff out into our raised beds and our planters. We got some tomatoes, we got some squash, some greens, and then we've got our plants. We just put a whole bunch of hostas and ferns and all this kind of stuff. And it really has been relaxing. When I was out there the other day, I think it was over the weekend, I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about Curtis, and I was thinking about you because I was thinking about ways to cook this stuff. Hopefully I can get a harvest, but I really we were talking about your cookbook, and it's so much more than just putting your hand and eating it. There's a mental aspect to it too, to get out there and get a little dirt in your hands. And as I said, when I saw my first seedling, it's a sunflower. I named him Ben just because it's so personal. And I took my little sunflower, and he sprouted. He's got a friend that's sprouting with him, and I'm looking forward to putting those sunflower seeds on the pan, putting a little salt, putting them in the oven, and having some snacks. So I want to just tell you, I'm coming into the lifestyle.
Okay, great. So I'm so excited. But I read something this morning.
Yeah.
It was very timely.
Yeah.
Now, are you planning on putting those sunflower seeds in the garden? Are you going to put them, down the ground or in your flowers?
I'm putting them down the ground. I got a little special roll that I'm going to do on the outside because we got a little pathway that I created. So they're going to kind of be on the outer part, away from the fruits and veggies.
Okay, because they do secrete. I just read this morning some chemicals that will reduce the production of the plants that it's close to. And the person that was showing it online had a roll of her onion, and so you can see the onion, the green part of the onion out of the soil. And as it starts to taper down, the closer it got to the sunflower. So
I'm watching those sunflowers. And learning about the relationship between these different plants, and some plants vibe. Some of these fruits and veggies vibe being in the same area, and some of them actually don't like to hang out too much.
Exactly. So rosemary and thyme, they're good companion plants to help, because they help repel other insects and bugs to destroy your plant. So you can companion plant with rosemary. It doesn't like the smell of marigold. Deer don't like the smell of marigold.
We gotta get some marigold.
So get some marigolds. Plant some citronella out there that'll help you reduce the mosquitoes.
Yes.
But then the marigolds attract butterflies.
That's what I'm talking about.
Pollinators, so you want to make sure that you're putting things in the garden that are going to attract, pollinators to the garden to help you. What else I found out today?
What?
That with corn.
Yeah.
this is, I'm trying to grow corn.
That's one of my goals. I don't know if it's going to happen, but yeah, please, let's talk a little corn.
So, and typically we'll plant in straight rows.
Right.
Well, the person suggested that you kind of divide the raised bed in half.
Yeah.
And do them not in 2 rows, but maybe 4 rows. Because as the wind blows, they will pollinate each other.
Yeah.
But if you plant them in those 2 straight rows, and when the wind blows, it's just blowing off in the direction of other plants and not really.
So that makes sense. Yeah. Let them help each other.
And I didn't know that, and I said maybe that's been an issue because I've always planted it in 2 straight rows. Right. And I didn't think about planting 4 rows.
There you go.
Rows shorter, so as the wind blows, the pollinate each other. And then she also said when those patches are sticking out, that's what a pollen is. And she said you can shake it and then it'll help the pollinate.
See, there you go. Thanks. Free information.
So I had the biggest smile on my face when you started talking about gardening.
Yeah.
And I know you want to talk about, because this is mentioned
go ahead.
This month too, but the two kind of go together.
Yeah.
So I'm driving. I get off on Ridge Road and I make the turn. Of course, I have to drive by the health center and go down the back so I can make sure everything is copacetic.
Yeah.
But as I make the turn on 35th to come into the parking lot here, that's what I see.
What?
There are kids outside on their raised beds.
Yeah.
Getting the leaves out and comparing the beds and stuff. I had this big smile on my face as I'm parking, and I'm like so excited. And there's a gentleman out there where we park at, pulling leaves and making the curve look nice. And I'm like, oh,
this is what it's about.
And I told him thank you on my way. You know, thank you so much.
No, I mean, you know, like I said, I'm a little late to the party, but obviously I've been talking about it and talking with it. I go back and, you know, I think I've told you the story numerous times about, I remember when I was at the old building, 47 Broadway, and Curtis and I used to just have lunch. Mm-hmm. And I remember one day he was asking me some questions because I went to Tuskegee, which is an agricultural school, in my background. And he was just talking about throwing some ideas about maybe doing a little farm over at his church. And when I looked at I remember the next day, or maybe about a couple of months, he was like, you know, I got this guy coming down. Maybe you should talk to him. And so I'm just like, what are you doing, Curtis? And next thing I know, he's going up to Wisconsin and things like that. Then he told me to come by his establishment, he put little raised beds. Now you go over there, it's a whole operation. It's a whole thing.
They just got the flash
freeze.
So now the veggies and
oh, trust me, I'm going over there with mine if I get in, if I'm lucky enough to have a nice haul. But I just think that, you know, I think that this conversation, in particular, in quote, our community, is a beautiful thing. Real quick, once again, you know, so, you know, getting into this gardening thing, my wife and I have been watching this young lady on the Magnolia Network, and that's the Joanna Gaines and her they got a network, and it's called Homegrown. Yes. And you know what I'm talking about. And so for the audience, I've been talking about it. She's a young lady who used to be a chemical engineer. And after a couple of years, she kind of walked away from it when kind of tied into some of the things that her Jamaican mother had taught her. And she basically goes around Atlanta and kind of helps people have urban farms. And just recently, I read, you know, in the news that she and her business partner kind of bought this big space in Atlanta, and they're going to have a supermarket and things like that. And so, getting back to that, it is just so good to see that our communities are not just sitting back, you know, letting words like food desert fall upon us, things like that, when we have such a rich history with the land. I mean, I get it, it's slavery and things like that, and that's the ugly part of it, but there's always been this kinship that we've had with the land, the almanacs, that kind of came from us and all that kind of stuff. And so I had to kind of go get my inner Tuskegee, because they used to really talk about that more down there, obviously for Tuskegee being the school it is. So that's what I'm saying. I'm glad that people like yourself and others have really kind of run with this. And it's a big testament that up here up north, that a doctor like yourself goes out here and really talks nutrition and diet versus trying to shove a pill on my mouth.
Thank you for putting it so eloquently. I certainly appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm just, as you're talking, my mind is just racing all over the place. I'm doing a total experiment with season. And so, you know, I grew 15 watermelons last season. I saved some of the seeds.
Yeah.
And so I just plopped them down in the ground about 3 or 4 weeks ago. They were about 15. They was outside already in the plant. And then next to them in the same planter, I divided in half and went back to the store that had bought the original plants from last year. Right. And so I put them next to them. Aunties and uncles.
There you go with the
flower bed together. So we'll see what happens.
That's gonna be kind of cool to see kind of like the ones that have kind of been regenerated or passed down versus the store. That's a nice little experiment. I'm gonna try to steal that. I'm about to say something that I am, because that's great. Yeah.
And so I'm just excited. We're also taking things that we normally buy at the grocery store. I'm dropping them in water. Rooting them. And then I'm putting them down in the ground. I'm going to see what's going to happen. Try that. I'm going to plant the ginger. I bought a ginger root. I'm going to put the whole ginger root in the bucket and cover it with dirt. This is what happens.
Do you do garlic?
I do. But I'm going to peel them this year. And then put them in water in the house in a bowl and get the little green sprouts going on top, and then I put them in the water. But I'm going to try everything. Spring onions. Try everything that I normally shop at the grocery store. I start wilting away. I throw them away. I'm not throwing them away. I'm going to drop them in water and let them take root and then come out in water.
Do I see another book in the making? Because for real, I mean, I really think that you should do that because, you know, as I said, it's very fascinating in a bunch of ways. And, you know, as we kind of segue over into mental health month, you know, I thought about my mother who used to love gardening and things like that. And, you know, obviously, you know, towards the end when she was dealing with her Alzheimer's and things like that, I think sometimes, because I was watching this thing and they were talking about some of the different approaches that doctors and researchers are taking to Alzheimer's, and they're really recommending like mental exercises and stimuli. You know, when you get a little older and things like that, you know, obviously it's still a disease, it's still pathological, but there are things you can do to just kind of maybe strengthen your brain. And so when I think about our seniors and I think about, you know, the therapeutic aspects of getting out in the garden and working with other living things, I just think we need to talk about that more. I mean, they use it in the correctional system.
No, I think that's an excellent idea. And I don't know if you noticed that some of the public gardening spaces have the smoother paths now, so people that need accessible equipment are able to go down those planting beds and beds and raise up higher.
Like if they're in a wheelchair.
So they can go ahead, or if they're in a walker, you know, they can turn the walker around, use the seat, and then also plant in the beds as well. So I think that we need to look at ways to make, you know, outdoor activities more accessible for more people to be able to participate as we continue to age in place. You know, and so I think that that's very important. And so I'm just excited about being able to get outside. And, you know, we've been cooped up all winter. I like to try and do things in the house too with plants. And then hopefully be able to transplant them outside. And sometimes if you do it too early, like I did last season in February, which is way too early.
See, that's the lab in me right there. That's the lab person. Because that's exactly why my wife, that's why I'm relegated, because I'm still in this beginning phases. And so I've converted my fish room into a nursery. I got the lights and things like that going on, the ceilings, and so she, you know, she's kind of relegated me to like my little strong point where I'm over here kind of moving things around, I'm hovering, then she'll call me out there in the back and then we'll do the big planning and I get to admire what's going on. But as far as me kind of learning and things, I've kind of found myself trying to experiment. I'm doing some research on cross-pollination and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I get it. I'm listening to you and I'm hearing that lab tech come out of you.
Oh yeah. For sure. I mean, if nothing puts a smile on my face,
because you're smiling now.
I know, other than my family, whenever I family nut, it's just being out with live things like plants and vegetables and fruits and just working with them. My office is covered with flowers. I love orchids. I grow orchids.
Oh, look at you,
and, African violets. And so I just love to have green and kind of help it.
I'm not at the orchid level yet. I mean, orchids are expensive. They're delicate, and they like who they like.
They are not delicate. That's how people get food. orchids are not.
They're resilient?
They are.
Okay, well maybe they just don't like me. I don't know. Maybe that's it.
And I think that's what scares people away from orchids. I've literally gone into stores that have them sitting on the shelves.
Because people don't want to touch them.
And it's the end of the season. They look, they're like on the last leg.
Exactly.
And they went from $29.99 down to $19.
Yeah, because like nobody wants
now
it.
It's like $9.99. Oh, $5.99. Okay, I'll just take this whole roll right here.
Right.
This whole shelf home.
Right.
And they.
So
what I do.
Okay.
They let you know they have done.
Well, you got to be dumb anyway. So that's let's not use you as an example. But anyway, so once again, segueing back into mental health, for somebody like you, you're obviously you're a professional. You got a lot of things going on. You have all these clinics. You have patients that your profession requires that you dedicate a certain amount of time to. And so, have you found that this environment that you create for yourself, being able to get out? I mean, plus your wife, you got your family, and then when you get out there. And, as you said, because I'm watching you light up as you talk about it, when you get around your little plants and when you're conducting your little experiments and things like that, is that your happy place?
Yes, I am in the zone. You can ask me anything when I'm in the garden because I'm at peace.
Yes.
I'm relaxed.
Yeah.
My brain has blood flowing to it.
Right.
I'm just like, having all these creative ideas.
Yeah.
And things just come to me when I'm out there. I'm free.
Yeah, and it kind of affects your regular health, I would assume, doesn't it? To have your mind right.
Yes, blood pressure's lowered,
Yeah.
stress is lowered. Just being in the element that I enjoy being.
Now, okay, so let's bring it back here because you're a healthcare provider here in Northwest Indiana. Northwest Indiana is a very kind of unique place because when you look at Indiana as a whole, a lot of people would consider it as kind of like a northern southern state, kind of rural. A lot of it is rural, to be honest with you, but it does have its concentrations and pockets of like serious urbanism. You know what I mean? You go to Marion County, a lot of people don't realize you go over to like Fort Wayne and things like that, and then obviously here in Northwest Indiana. And I remember years ago talking to some young people, and they told me that number one, they had never been to a farm area, and they had never left this area. And so, I'm talking about even going to Chicago. And so when we're talking about things like you and I were talking about, trying to find places to relax and get our mental health, what do you say to people that find themselves landlocked in the city? And thank God for Gary, and I know the Melvin administration is buying into it as well. Is that a lot of these organizations, yourself and Curtis, and shout out to Pastor Gardner, are creating these open spaces where people can go out here and learn the urban farm, but there's still more work to be done because there's still people that are kind of trapped in the concrete jungle, getting their food from the convenience or the dollar stores and things like that. So how do we kind of do that?
So I tell people that there are plenty of things that you can do if you can't access those places if they're not close to where you are.
Yeah.
Or you just prefer to be at home if you don't have a garden space. Maybe it's not your property. Maybe you're renting it.
Right.
Maybe it is your property and you just don't feel like getting out there
Yeah.
to put out plants out. Guess what?
What?
You can plant some anything.
You can.
We have all these throwaway containers.
Absolutely.
Recycle.
Yes.
Recycle. Use it for, putting some plants in it.
I found that.
The buckets that we get for, I think they're like $5
Yeah.
or something.
I got some of the Myers red buckets and things like that.
You can put plants in there. You can throw put some holes down the bottom.
Yeah.
Put a little gravel, little rocks down at the bottom.
Right.
And then put some peat moss, kind of help permeate,
Yeah.
water. And put it in and then start putting your compost and your soil on the top and put your onions.
Look at you. The Martha Stewart of medicine.
You want to put some flowers in
Yeah.
it, put it.
Yeah.
Put it on the outside.
Yeah.
You don't like buckets. Maybe on the outside, put the flowers on the inside.
I like
and
that.
you can actually layer, I just found this out.
Okay.
You can layer your plants. So you do the gravel, like
Right.
we just talked about, and then you put the soft material,
Yeah.
what it's called, like you can put construction paper, cardboard paper, and then you start putting all your compost and everything, and then you put your soil.
Now, what's your soft material for?
So that's going to help with
Absorb
moisture.
it. Yeah.
It helps to hold moisture in, but also you can make sure it's got blood.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah.
in the manure already,
Yeah.
you're going to that's going to kind of help keep the soil that organic matter.
Nice.
It's going to become organic matter. So as you're doing each layer of soil, you put in the different spring plants. You know, put the tulips down at the bottom.
Right.
And then the next layer, you might put some crocus and then put lilies on top. So you'll have all season, you'll have some sort of flower coming up in the bucket.
Look at you. Let me get this. Caller, hey, how you doing? You're on with the Marcus Stewart of Medicine. Okay, well, let's call back.
I got a new nickname.
You are. I mean, no, you are. Because I can pick your brain all day about this because it is absolutely amazing about how much you know. And ladies and gentlemen, those who can't see us on the screen, she's into this. I mean, her face lights up, and she's doing it. It's like she's delivering a baby or something.
But think about it though. This is mental health awareness month.
Yeah.
And think about your mental health. Find what makes you happy. Find your happy state. That's my happy state.
That's your happy state. I can tell. No, I think it's a great example, and we're still at the beginning of the summer, so there's a lot of optimism, a lot of time to get in.
Not lost.
How many harvests do you usually get in the summer? Because I was reading, I got something from my guys over at Purdue. They directed me, and they, like in Indiana, you can get one as late as like November if you do it right.
But I've gotten as many as 3 harvests.
Yeah.
It depends on what it is. Like cucumbers, all summer long.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then with lettuce, all summer long. Because you don't pull the whole lettuce, you also just cut the leaves that you want to use.
Yeah.
For the salad. And so those smaller leaves are going to come back, throughout the season.
There you go.
You can have, mixed greens, different, butter lettuces and things.
Yeah. How many kinds of lettuce do you have?
At least 4.
I bet your salads are amazing out there. There's a whole bunch of things.
So I like kale.
Yeah.
And so I planted 2 types. This is a new kale.
Right.
For me.
Right.
Dinosaur kale, because the leaves are all pretty and big.
Whatever. You see, I was listening to somebody. I was on a blog. This shows you the kind of nerd I am. But the question that they were asking is like, what happened to cabbage? How come nobody talks about cabbage anymore?
I grew 6 cabbages.
Okay, whoa, okay.
That cabbage, my family said it was good.
Okay, they loved it. Yeah, because people are like, we're not talking enough about cabbage anymore. It seems like the kales and the sexy greens, greens are making a comeback. They kind of overshadow good old cabbage.
Well, collard never went in.
Yeah. Then anybody eat coleslaw? No. Anyway, we're talking with Dr. Shannon Seabrook, as I said, the Supermarket Stewart of Medicine. We've been kind of having a little fun, but it is Mental Health Awareness Month, and all this conversation really is relative to going out here and having good mental health, because that's a main part of, I would assume, a healthy body, mind, body, and soul. Yeah. Let me ask you kind of like about what's going on as far as, I had a young lady on the other day. I think, I'm trying to think who she was, but I'm still a little confused about the mortality rate as it relates to mothers in Indiana. If you're somebody that's very close to this, you go to conferences and things like that, explain that about why in the 21st century, in modern America, we're still having problems with mortality rates, and some of it's even based off race and things like that. What's going on? Why are we still in the dark ages? So,
I did a series on this a couple of months ago. It's very unfortunate, but both the numbers are high as far as infant and black maternal mortality. And what happens is we have, chronic diseases such as diabetes and hypertension. Sometimes untreated. And then they come in with pregnancy. A lot of what goes on in pregnancy is determined by how often that you can able to access the system.
Right.
And so that early entry into prenatal care helps your physician or nurse practitioner be able to recognize whatever signs and symptoms or chronic diseases that you may have early on, once you get your chronic into prenatal care ready.
Right.
And so those are some things that as a person who is pregnant, will be to be able to get into care as soon as possible. So then you have to look at accessibility.
Yeah.
Where are those occupations gynecologists and certified?
Yeah.
If I'm not able to access them in the time of mine because maybe they're not in my community.
Yeah.
Maybe I have other social determinants of health, like no insurance. Maybe I have transportation issues.
Yeah.
Maybe I have childcare issues.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of factors that go into it. And then as I get closer to time, if I make it to time, then I have other challenges that sometimes I'm in the hospital and maybe people aren't listening to my concerns.
Right.
I know they're in the hospital bed. And you have someone as famous as Serena Williams say that the same thing happens to her when she almost died during the delivery. So it doesn't matter how much money you have when it comes to birth outcomes for African American women. It doesn't matter. The studies have shown. And Serena was too. But it doesn't matter how much money you have. You can still end up being successful.
And I think another factor of that is, I was talking about this a couple months ago when the NFL draft was going. The fact that she's an athlete as well. I mean, these people probably are more in tune and see a doctor more than any other kind of group of people because it's their business. They have physicians that get their blood taken, to see if they're on substances, and so they have a complete workup of their bodies. And so, as you said, for Serena to admit that you go through that speaks a lot to the problem.
And not only that, she wasn't hurt.
Yeah.
She had a history of blood clots.
Yeah.
And she knew her history.
She knew her body.
Trying to get that across, and no one listened to her because she really had to yell at everybody in the room.
Right.
To get them to understand that something was going on.
Right.
And she almost died. Had she not been an advocate for herself, she would never given birth to herself. And so it can happen to anyone. Money has nothing to do with it. But when you look at minority women, our rates of maternal death and infant death are higher, and it boils down to cardiovascular. And I hate to say that, but when you look at all the information you pull it out.
It's just that's what it says.
At the same hospital, right across the hall from each other, that do different colors, and being treated by the same staff.
Right. They just
they're going to have different outcomes.
Wow. We're talking to Dr. Garrett Seabrook. Of course, it's May, Mental Health Month. Let me ask you this, because I was thinking about this, all right? And you can take this back to your peers. And so I was watching this Bernie Sanders, because it's relative to what we were just talking about. I was watching the subcommittee hearing last Thursday, and Bernie Sanders was kind of really banging the table, talking about there is a problem in the Black and brown communities because of a doctor shortage. Now, you and I have talked about that. You stated it. I didn't agree with the way he kind of put it out there, as if we should drop the standards and go out here just so we have more people that look like us. I don't want to go in that approach, but I did think about the problem, and also I'm a glass half full guy, so I'm thinking about solutions. So now coming back to what we were just talking about. As we look forward and we see that technology is pretty much coming into anything, and you and I have talked about it, I can see a time where there's going to be a hospital that just has technicians there. You're going to walk through, I mean, for real, I do. You log in on your phone, you go through scanners, things like that. You get your blood drawn, and all that will be analyzed by techs in the machine. That would be unfortunate, because I like the human experience. But here's a pivoting point I would suggest for human medicine, and that is that to kind of get young doctors or some enterprising young doctors, because you got to be young to start doing this because it requires a lot of movement, to start with the home visit. We're starting to see it, I know that there was somebody, I don't know if it was in Indiana or somebody, but she was an African-American doctor, not to matter, but she was concerned about the rural communities and about the communities, the people who kind of fit that description you just talked about and don't really have accessible points to go out there and do it. And what she had talked about was, as she got in her mobile van, she was kind of an old kind of doctor. because she had developed relationships. She knew where these people lived. She would be in their houses. And so she could kind of see some of the external stimuli that was around. And there was a repertoire, there was a rapport there because she was coming into these people's houses. And so they had kind of invited her in and they were more welcoming to kind of have a dialogue about what was going on with them. She could diagnose them better. And so what I'm guessing, where I'm going with this is the premise of bringing back the house call and things like that in medicine.
So it's that. And when you get the individual, like the person that you're describing,
right,
that is typically that's what we expect, and that's that one-on-one quality.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what it looks like what we're going into now with the home visits are more corporate.
Yeah.
And so as medicine is more integrated with corporations and technology, we're going to have some like not so personal cases. If
I get exactly what you're saying.
Well, it's more a business transaction. You know, you need a prescription, you need a medical exam. I'm coming to your house, checking boxes, and then mailing and filling to your primary care doctor. And I don't necessarily know if that's the kind of home visit that I would like to see.
No.
And I read a story once, and it might have been on 60 Minutes, because I'm seeing it too. There was, they weren't fairly qualified health center. I think they were rural health center, but they had a unit.
Yeah.
And so they would go into rural areas in West Virginia. Yeah. And so they had a schedule. So people knew when their doctors would be there on the mobile unit. Right. And those that couldn't come to the units, the doctors would go to them. Right. They knew their patients on their list, who could come out and who couldn't. So those that could come down to where they would have to park the unit because of how the mountains. Like the doctors in Alaska. Right. So they would come down to the units, but then they knew that they had certain patients that couldn't come down. Right. Some of the houses didn't have indoor plumbing. Yeah, they're living out in the hills. And so now that I like it more too than what we consider house visits currently. Right. I don't consider a real house visit. No, I think you're absolutely right because I saw it with my mom when I was getting her health care, and I think I told you the story of the nurse practitioner versus her doctor. And her doctor was a cool dude. He really was. I mean, he is a cool guy. I'll not mention his name, but he was just, when he came by the house the couple of times when he showed up, it was very antiseptic. He was doing his thing, but he had other things to do as well. He was just kind of checking her list. It was very silent. It's like, okay, what's she on? And it was like that. While the nurse practitioner, and I'm not suggesting that the nurse practitioner position is better, but I'm just talking about her demeanor and the way she was rolling in the situation, is when she came through, it was like we had somebody for dinner. You know what I'm saying? And things like that. She was talking to my mom. My mom could still remember her name and things like that. And my mom actually would be more, conversant with her and more revealing with her and tell her what she, once she started talking, then now she could kind of lead my mother around to find out what she needed to find out from my mother. While when the doctor came by, he was a good guy. He really was. He and I would talk and things like that. But, he was just kind of, doing this thing very clinical. Right. Yeah. And I don't know if we'll ever get back to that 1950s, 1960s doctor carrying his bag, walking through the neighborhood. You're giving them your chicken to pay for them because you can't afford it. But that's how Dr. Baby Ross started. That's how I actually met him. I think I was 2 or 3. Yeah. My dad used to tell us all the time. And my mom wasn't feeling well. Right. And my dad, big doctor. Yeah. And so we talked from experiences. He used to hang out with the police and he said, oh, there's the doctor. His name is David Ross. He'll come around and see your wife. You don't have to take her to the hospital. Yeah. And he called him up and he went. And see, I bet he was one of the more popular doctors around. He was a very humongous practice. Interesting stuff. We're talking about Dr. Seabrook. So, as we come into, we're talking about mental health as well, but also, when we're coming into the summertime, and, I always admire some of the things that you all have to go through in medicine because they're like, it's like season. I remember learning this at Tuskegee that your medicine, because depending on the time of the year, there are new pathogens that are just out and waiting for stuff to go.
And so, you know, you deal with a lot of children, you deal with a lot of families. And so for parents who are, you know, the kids are about to be out of school, they're about to be around the house a lot more, you know, they're disgusting. No, that's just me. But what are some of the things that parents should look for as far as controlling the summer things that go on with young children?
So, are you talking about infectious disease?
Yeah, anything. Yeah, infection, because you're trying to, is it me? I know I'm asking multiple questions, but are there a lot of allergens out here? Oh my goodness.
Like I have been trying not to sneeze the entire time.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
Right now.
Yeah.
But usually mine don't kick in until August.
Thank you.
And so this started for me.
Yeah.
For me, it started April.
Yeah.
There's something going on.
Something's going on. So I'm not just, well, I am crazy, but it's not just me.
No.
Okay.
And I'm predicting, at least for myself, that this is not going to be a good allergy season.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of things in the air right now.
Right.
Going around from different plants.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
But I would say to any parents, make sure that it is allergies. You want to check in with the pediatrician.
Right.
Or your primary care doctor for your family. And make sure you have all the medications on hand that you might need. And antihistamines, if your children are allowed to take those. And the nasal sprays, so you can help with the congestion.
Yeah.
And just making sure that you're taking them to Dr. Pepper and Rasher and that they might come in contact with out in the yard. They take a look around the yard, make sure that there are any triggers out there.
And there's another thing, at least out where I'm living now, and it's becoming more evident than it was, because I have to be honest, I had to pull a couple off me, and there is some serious tick activity going on right now. Yeah.
The deers are very active right now, so those ticks, they're killing those ticks all through the woods and the people's grass and everything like that. So it's very important, particularly if you're going to open the back door and let the kids run around the yard to make sure that you have covered and infestation.
Right.
Check them when they come back in there.
Right.
Make sure that they're wearing socks.
Yeah.
And not running barefoot.
Yeah.
And if they are wearing pairs with cuffs on it, and roll those cuffs down and make sure that there's nothing like strapped in there coming to the house.
Yeah, because I'm just telling you, I was just kind of, luckily I'm always examining my body, but anyway, so I'm just kind of, first started a couple weeks ago, and I'm looking around, I'm just kind of, I'm like, well, a minute, this is not a skin tag, and of course I went and grabbed it and got my little kit. And luckily it hadn't really launched in, because I've seen some bad things. And so I kind of got it out. I definitely, disinfected the area and all that kind of stuff. But then, we were out in the garden a couple other times, and I'm just looking in the back of my wife's thing, and this wasn't a deer tick. The one on me was a deer tick. This was just a little kind of like a mite, but it was a tick. And it's just like, you got to be careful of that stuff.
You do. And if you have pets and they're out there, when you bring them in, you want to make sure and check them too. This is going to be a particularly active season.
It is.
And so we just have to be extremely careful because, Lyme disease, unfortunately forever, it's out there. I mean, we can treat it, but, sometimes some people still have, chronic symptoms. And so we want to make sure that we don't even hear the kids.
Yeah.
And so, this is going to be a pretty interesting summer, but I'm not discouraging anybody that can go outside.
Right.
Go outside, just, be careful.
Yeah, be careful. Absolutely. And so, and kind of, I guess, getting back to, what we were talking about earlier, we were talking about, the doctors. I want to get back to this, but let me tell you this story real quick, because that's what I wanted to ask you as we were talking about allergies. I found this young man. I thought a person told me about this young man who is from here, was from here, who was just 21 years old, and he had gone out and he was celebrating getting a new job. He had kind of gone through the program. He worked here, so I knew him for a hot second. But then he had gone out to the real world and what have you, and he went to a restaurant, and obviously he ate something, and he got a food allergy, and he died. Now, I know this might not be your specialty or whatever, but I want to speak to that, because I haven't been able to kind of get this thing, out of my head, because I was talking to some people about this. And, you think by the time you've gotten to about your 20s and things like that, you've pretty much eaten your share of, you know what you can eat, what you can't eat. Now, there's always opportunities to kind of explore new things that you can eat when let's say you move to the coast and you start eating more shellfish, and you're like, you know what, maybe I can eat shellfish. But talk about food allergies, because you don't see that, well, at least the public We don't talk about that enough. I know that's a staple of stuff that you all do in modern medicine, because that's the peanut allergy is probably the thing going on around here with a lot of people, and it's fatal still, I assume. So what about food allergy?
And so, and I don't know this case at all, but the person may have been able to avoid whatever, they were allergic to when they were here.
Right.
So you really take a chance when you go to a restaurant.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there can be cross contamination in the spaces in the back.
Yeah.
So cooking the food
Right.
in the kitchen. And so it's very important to make your hostess or your waitress or waiter aware of the allergies. And my thing is, if you're not sure, then you probably shouldn't do it.
Right.
And this just happened to, I believe she was a pediatrician.
Yeah.
I believe she was on vacation with her family in Walt Disney World.
Right.
And Walt Disney World is very particular.
Yeah.
They'll tell you, if you have food allergy, you go to this food station and you sit on this side.
Right.
They really try really hard not to cross contaminate. But this happened to this doctor, and unfortunately, I don't believe she had an EpiPen with her.
Wow.
And all type of emergency resuscitation was tried, but they could not bring her back.
Yeah.
So it's very challenging for people who do have food allergies, particularly nut allergies.
Yeah.
It's not just peanuts.
Right.
Some people can't eat
any nut. Period. Almonds, anything.
And just very sensitive, and the slightest, touch or whiff or smell of a nut will send them into allergies. There are some people that are so severely allergic that they have to share EpiPen with them all times. They cannot do without their EpiPen.
So let me ask you this, because it kind of goes back to what you were talking about earlier when you were talking about the mortality rate and things like that with mothers, because I think, and I thank God for my mom, because, when I was growing up and when I was very young, I used to be allergic to like citrus. I was allergic to everything. I had a very slow, immature immune system as I hit it, because I really would get rashes and things like that from pretty much everything. But my mom was my cataloger. And so, she made sure, obviously I had regular doctor visits, but she would make a little note about all the things that I was allergic to, and then she would also make a little note about when I started to get, kind of grow out of those allergies and things like that. So how important is it for parents to really pay attention to what their kid can handle and can't handle at an early age?
So it starts very early as you're introducing food, and that's why as physicians we try to encourage our parents not to give multiple things in one food setting.
So you can see.
So maybe they're just going to have the mashed peas
today,
or the mashed rice or banana rice. But pick one. And then maybe one dessert.
Yeah.
So pears or apples or whatever it's going to be. So then if they do have a reaction, you're only looking at two things that you have to try to decipher.
Right.
Versus if you open up 4 cans and you're trying to give them a variety. And one feed. And so those are some of the recommendations that, because it's easy to back out of two.
No, it is. It's more of a controlled environment.
Yeah.
And so go ahead. No,
I was just going to say that we try to encourage parents to do that, so we can decipher what the allergies are when a child is very young. I'm talking about infants.
Right.
Feeding children. And if you notice that they're getting rashes and you're feeding this diet of, green peas and mashed green peas and the berries to apples.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's pull away the apples and just give them the green peas.
Right.
And see what happens. The next day. And so I think that that's one way of introducing food slowly.
Yeah.
And then, you hear people say, well, like you said, I was allergic to this, but I'm not anymore. And I think that over time, those small introductions, because that's what allergists do.
Yeah.
All they do is give you small introductions.
Yeah. They're sadists.
They do the RAS test. They see what you're allergic to. And then if you're allergic to shrimp.
Yeah.
And you really want to eat shrimp.
Yeah.
So they're going to give you small injections of that until 4 years, 15 years.
Yeah.
And then they'll give you a tiny bite of shrimp in the office.
And try to see if you built up some kind of immunity to it.
Yeah. Tolerance to being able to eat.
Yeah, I told you to say this. I know some people that are do that kind of stuff. So yeah, they love to see you puff up and your eyes swell up. We're talking to Dr. Janet Seabrook, of course. She's the executive director and proprietor of Community Health Net locations all throughout Northwest Indiana. Let's talk about also the overall problem in nursing now, and that is a doctor shortage.
Yeah.
What do we do? What do we do? Because I would argue that vacuum will not just sit out and not exist. If we don't get human doctors, they're going to throw the machines in there. There are corporations that are just waiting. How do we get human beings to go out here and become doctors? Are the younger group of people becoming too lazy? I'm not going to put you on the spot.
I don't think that they're becoming.
I'm sorry. Not Amber, of course. Amber works hard.
I do not think that the group of young people are lazy. I think that just here recently, a group of very students, 29 students, were taken to Chicago State University for their college trip. This was a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
Our students left with over $100,000 in scholarships. So,
right.
Actually more than that.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm saying, some of the students were on the bus on the way there, saying that they didn't know how to apply for college.
Yeah.
And they were scared, or either they didn't think they would be able to do it. Some of them couldn't
afford
application fee. So it was a laundry list. And then they go into this, Chicago State University, this big setting.
Yeah.
And hear all these students that look like them, and then the colleges.
Chicago State's nice.
Yeah, and then the colleges are there represented, and they're at the tables, and they're going to the different vendor tables, talking to other students that look like them, and saying, come to our school. No, application process is easy here. Let me show you. It's all electronic now. Not like a window applying to Tuskegee.
Right. Oh my God, yeah. Look at the stamp.
Blue ink pen only.
Exactly how it was. And so, I guess if we're going to talk culture, for instance, and, I have a couple of friends who I grew up with who are Jewish and things like that. And I don't know, I'm not going across the board or anything making these kinds of distinctions, but, as we look at a community that we were talking about that really kind of needs more representative health care, needs physicians in these communities because we understaffed, it doesn't matter what color it is. Do we have to be more deliberate? And what I mean by that is we got to go out here and really start to identify and really support and push that person to go out here and finish the degree. Because in other communities, I was talking with one guy who was Indian, and he told me, his parents told him, period, you're going to be a doctor. You need a doctor in our family, you're going to be one. And he's a doctor, he likes it. And I know for some people, in particular us Americans who, we want to just have we don't want to be pressured and pigeonholed, that kind of is a repulsive thought. But when you kind of look at trying to create a solution down the line, do you have to go out here and do it? We've got young men and women who would be good, and rather than letting them idly go through life and, where they're seniors and juniors and they're like, I don't know what I want to do yet. No. You've been good at this from the start. You're going to identify. You're going to push you into being a doctor. Now, after you do that, if you want to do something else, fine. But let's go out here and make our doctors.
So, I have been advocating for what you just said for a number of years. My thought was identifying children in as early as 6 or 7.
Yes.
And once you identify them, you are going to
track them
into those pre-med programs and science programs in middle school and high school.
Right.
And now we're going to look at, hey, you're from Indiana. Hey, you can hear. Did you know that IUN is a 4-year medical school right here on Gary's campus? So let's put you into IUN for undergraduate in one of the pre-med programs and science programs here. And then let's track you right into IU School of Medicine here on your campus, right down 30, right down the street. I have been advocating for these programs for years, for IUN, for the city of Gary, and the Gary School District.
It's a win-win from everybody involved.
Because studies always show. I am a product of a residency program that was at Methodist Hospital.
Right. Yes.
At that time, 82% of the residents that finished that program stayed. Once the program closed, when there were no fresh graduates coming into primary care, the number of primary care doctors in the area dropped off. Because nobody to replace those people that are aged
Right.
So we need to create our own, grow our own doctors right here in our community. starting in 2025.
So you wore them down.
But you still haven't made the connection with the school.
Right.
Because that's where the students are that are going to be those future doctors and nurses.
And nurses.
We do the same thing with the school of nursing.
Listen, I think I might have told you this story before. I've told a lot of people, but this guy, he changed my life. His name is Tony Rankin. He's no longer with us. But when I first went off to Hampton, when I went to college, I hadn't really figured out exactly what I was going to do. My parents had me in political science. I ended up changing marine biology, then I went psych pre-med. And I ended up befriending a guy from Gary. His parents originally from Gary. Both his mom and his dad are surgeons. They lived in D.C. His younger brother Mark was in summer program with me, and so that's how I met his older brother Tony. But anyway, having said that, is Tony Rankin was just an amazing person. Here's why. It's because he went through Hampton, graduated in 3 years, had no major. His mom and dad had programmed him or trained him where he went to college and literally he told me this because when I went to his apartment, he had the books and he had 3 medical schools that he was getting into. He took all their prerequisites, maybe a little other stuff that he was interested in, but that's all he took. And he had like a 4.2. He graduated. He got accepted. He ended up going to Howard. He later passed on to medical school. But that is the example that just blew my mind. It's changed me forever. But that's what I think about when I think about being delivered. Because I looked at people who, for instance, Dr. Kobe Duggan. I looked at people who are physicians and who have children that have shown an interest in doing what their parents are doing. They have a leg up because they get to sit at the dinner table with a mom or a dad that knows what they need to do in high school, knows what they need to pay attention to in middle school, high school, and can help them navigate college. A lot of these people don't have that, and it's a foreign thing. You can understand and appreciate what I'm saying.
I'm smiling because my son, Friday, yes, Friday, that's his taking his finals from school, closing out his first year of medical school.
Yes.
And our daughter graduates on Friday. Our daughter graduates from New Harry on Saturday.
Wow, 2.
Now, I'm not bragging. I'm saying all this to say, think is not this is us. The first thing they said, we're not doing primary care.
Yeah, excuse me. You see that little bougie problem? We're not doing primary care. The whole point is they're going into medicine. I'm not talking to, that's like, I'm not going to go and I'm not going to specialize in this. I mean, you got them through osmosis. They grew up in a medical environment and they understood enough to know they hate primary care. I mean, that's how smart they are. A lot of people don't even know what primary care is until they get to medical school.
So we had this running joke when we were little, when family and friends come to visit, come to town. I used to do urgent care, urgent care for 10 years at South Lake, and my husband.
Oh my God.
Emergency. He actually was in the emergency room at North Lake.
Oh my God,
what was this? 15, 20 years. And so,
what was your dinner table like? 2 stressed out people?
Actually it was pretty good, but this is funny. We're driving through and the kids are just so animated in their car seats because they want to point to everybody and say, that's why parents live. Point at the hospital.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
So that's why they don't want to do primary care because they're associated with
the hospital. They don't want any parts of it. Yeah, but you get what I'm saying though. I mean, and so to that point is, and congratulations to you once again. But your children had the benefit of seeing what it looks like. You get what I mean? They got to see their mom and dad. They know what their parents do. They don't want to do exactly the way their parents are doing. But they still got a genuine appreciation, and I would argue a love of medicine because it's not an easy path, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's long. It's like choosing to play basketball professionally versus playing baseball, where you got to go through all the leagues and things like that. Most good athletes, if they have an opportunity, choose to go to basketball because 1 year of college and I can make money, fame, and fortune versus trolling around on the bus with no money, hoping I get called up to play for the Cubs. That's how I look at medical school. And so when a man or a woman make a dedication to do that, I always appreciate that. But I'm just saying that when we bring back to making our doctors, your children had the benefit of seeing that. So they understood it going in, and I would say that gave them a benefit for success.
Okay. I'll take it.
No, plus you're a good parent. But no, I mean, so we got to kind of go out here and replicate that. And so, to your point, when you're talking about tracking, part of the period of tracking these, identifying these kids at about 6, 7, 8, is they will have a familiarity with the doctors in the community. They don't have to necessarily be their children, but they will be able to know what it looks like. And so that can be that mentorship where when you're getting ready to go into maybe middle school, they can help you with understand why algebra is important, understanding why you need to pay attention to the tricks, so you can understand these formulas later down the line and how it's all relative.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, so we have a teacher making the pharmacists.
Yes.
Doctors.
Yeah.
Nurses, chemists.
Yeah.
Scientists, researchers.
All over the place. Yeah. There you go. So, as I said, it's always a pleasure, Doctor. You
go around the world and come back.
And come right back to it. And as we get ready to come back to it, tell us about community health net before I let you go. Your day job. Market steward.
Community health net health centers. For more information, you can call 219 880 1190. That's 219 880-1190. And you can also go to our website, Community Health CHN-Indiana.org.
Now, I always kind of ask you about this because it's worth asking. Do you have every specialty working for you at this point? Because I know you got a chiropractor now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so the last one, well, 2 actually.
Where'd you go get the chiropractor? Out of the strip mall?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely
no,
not.
but so you got dental.
Yeah.
You got vision optometrist, and you got a podiatrist.
That's what I was getting ready to say. We don't, but my hope is that we will have one by the end of the year. I'd also like to open up a pharmacy too.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you just don't want all the medicine around here, aren't you?
I'm fine.
At least you're honest. All right, ladies.
No, my thing, I shouldn't say that I'm trying. I want people to be able to access.
That's your thing about accessibility.
Access.
Yeah.
And meet patients where they
Right. And I think, all jokes aside, I think you do a great job. How many locations? 8?
It's 8, soon to be 9.
That's right, the west side one?
Not west side is coming, but East Chicago.
Okay, I will talk later, because is there any place in Northwest Indiana that you're not? LaPorte? Okay, all right. You going to LaPorte? We'll talk. Yeah. LaPorte knows how it feels out there. They watch. All right. Anyway, with that being said, Janet, once again, it's been a pleasure, man. Looking forward to speaking to you. Just go out and do some stuff, and I want some gardening tips. I want your book. Write that book.
Okay.
I'll make some videos or something. I know you're busy. We're talking with Dr. Janet Seabrook, the Market Student of Medicine. Of course, we want to thank her. Go to Community Health Net. You heard her, the website. Make the appointment. It's definitely a place to deal with your healthcare needs and get